I bring this up, group creative director at McCann. I am also, sorry, I would just bring this up. Why am I? There we are. I'm also ultra marathon runner, Ironman, father of 2 young boys, husband. I guess I shouldn't put that last, so there's no real order in any of that. The reason why I'm here tonight is I started as a writer. In my bio, you might have read, like, I came out of school, I didn't know what I was doing. I just had plenty of degrees, but no direction. Ended up at Red Tettemer. I don't know if anyone's familiar with local agency here. I was their accounts payable. I hadn't had a math class since probably junior high at that point. No business dealing with any of their finances. So you get in there and then realize that there's this thing called copywriting, and that they'll pay you to write a headline. I'm like, oh. Yes. So I started, writing all my expense reports and everything else in there. And it took about 3 weeks before they realized I shouldn't be touching their finances. So, I tell that story because, as a junior copywriter, that's where your head is at. I can come up with a couple of witty lines, I can write some copy, but it doesn't stop there. As you progress throughout your career as a copywriter and as a creative, you realize that there's this whole other part to it, the content strategy of, who's reading that line, why are they reading it, where are they reading it, to everything that Nicole had mentioned. So you have to start thinking holistically about that line. It can't just be creative for creative's sake. You really have to ground it in that end user. So I think that's what I can bring to the table here. What I'm going to show you today is that not all content is created equal. So I've been in advertising now 14 years and sort of seen the transition into social and everything. And as we started talking about content, I was like, oh, why don't I come in here and bore them and give them page upon page of content. Let's make them read content. But that's really not what it's about anymore. And as we start getting into it, yes, this is a lot of words on the page and it's a couple of years old, but it still holds true. We have less attention span than goldfish at this point. It was just absurd. Like, nobody pays attention. When you're reading, it's funny, as a copywriter, I always said I never put periods at the end of things because I didn't want people to stop reading. Like, if I put a period, I'm like, oh, that's an excuse, get right out. So I just started doing run-on sentences. My editor hated me for it, but the idea here is that visual content plays such an important role, and this is even as the advent of social, but it's even more imperative now as we get into, you hate to categorize, but if you're saying millennials or Gen Z, where they are native digital, that's the way they think, that's the way they consume, and that is the type of content they want. So we really need to start focusing as marketers in this space. So one of my clients is the TOEFL test. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that. It's the premier English language tests for those that are looking to study abroad. So our biggest markets are India and China right now. TOEFL is ubiquitous with study in the US. It shouldn't be, you can take it anywhere. But the idea is that you take the TOEFL tests in order to then apply to a US university that proves your English language ability. It sounds really boring. It's a test. It's a standardized test. Nobody wants to take a standardized test. It's not fun. It's not sexy. It's not emotional. There's no connection to a brand. It's another step that you have to take in order to get to where you want to go. So that said, we sat down and we came up with a whole strategy around how do we make the brand emotional? How do we make that connection to it? So we created this video last year. It ran, and we can talk afterwards of where the strategy and content strategy came in afterwards.
Determination, success, integrate potential, and power, integrity, last one, persist,
अच्छा भविष्य, अच्छी शिक्षा ही रास्ता है। तुम बहुत मेहनत करोगे, मन लगाकर पढ़ोगे और अपने सारे सपने पूरे करोगे। एक दिन तुम हमारा नाम रोशन करोगे।
So I share that for a couple of reasons. First being that it's one of the proudest things I've done. It's won a bunch of awards. We won a Cannes Lion Tour last year, a Clio, other awards as well. But the idea here is that, so we took one thing, made a video. There's only maybe 20 words throughout this whole video. It's long form, so our initial thought was this needs to live on the website, right? This is their premiere. Like, come on, let's tell you what TOEFL is about, and rather than tell you, let's show you what it is about. So, yes, this is long and this lives on YouTube and everything. Then, as we start to chunk that out, we made 15-second clips of it. We did promos for it that lived across social on Instagram. We did Instagram stories for it to really promote what that is, to all drive back to a website, which then centers around this, which then says to these students, says to the family that TOEFL is bigger than a standardized test, is that we're here for you along this journey, we're here for you to succeed and get to your dreams. So it's something that, yes, it's a single video, but we thought of it holistically of what we could do with it even further. Also, don't eat McDonald's at a roadside stand in Pune, India. Still regretting that one. So another one of my clients, I do all of the IHOP work, digital, so I am not at fault for IHOP. For the record, people, we did have to promote it. Or the most recent IHOP pizza, that was not us either. So IHOP was trying something new. Business was not doing so well, so now they're trying new things. I don't know if I would try new things there, but
okay, things are good.
So when we started thinking of content strategy, Nicole had taken me through a lot of what it takes to going into a website and understanding the CMS behind it and the structure there. A lot of what I deal with is the content on social. We know that social is imperative for our brands. They have to live there now. It's the new norm. It's where all information is consumed at this point. So even the boomers and Gen Xers that are infiltrating Facebook to make it so the rest of us never want to be on the platform, to Gen Z that are now picking up TikTok and everything. The younger audiences are now creating an atmosphere where we have to have content that is real, natural, unfiltered. Thank you to Snapchat. Really, it's all started with Snapchat. It's not these beautiful branded information. They just want to see down dirty. What is it? What am I getting here? So as a brand, what do we do with that? How do we navigate? Knowing that this is the case that we're in right now. So I guess it was like a year and a half ago. These were the pancakes that were featured. They have limited time windows. So every 3 months they change up the special so you can get there. This time it was Paradise Pancakes. So as a digital marketer, what do we do with Paradise Pancakes? So we get together, we have a brainstorm, figure out what it is, and ultimately, here is what we did. Tried to set the brand apart a little bit by reaching people where they were. We did a Facebook Live event. This was the advent of Facebook Live. What could we do with that? And literally that's what it was. We found a beach in New Jersey, actually. The logistics of it all is we put a microphone by the ocean and shot back underneath the covering and everything. We had people shaking cans at the seagulls that kept coming. That was the biggest problem. melting whipped cream and seagulls were the biggest issues of that was amazing the amount of time that people spent watching this, and nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened. We planned on nothing happening, and when nothing happened, it was exactly what we wanted. So that sort of was our introduction to setting up IHOP in this manner and setting expectations with our audience that we're a brand that's here for you. Yes, we're about pancakes, but we want to relate to you on a level that you're wanting to be related to. So our next event here was we hired a fruit carver. And what they did is there's two of them that came in and made everything out of breakfast materials. So this is a house, they had the whiteboard behind it, but over 2.5 hours they created an entire IHOP out of pancakes, and we live streamed the entire event. So that was the time lapse of that, but just watching them there and create this thing, it was, people are like, why am I watching this? But I can't stop. So, they had to see what, ultimately that created at the end. So again, has nothing really to do with pancakes other than, it was, how do you break the clutter? There's so much going on social now. There's so many brands trying to do different things, and, so what are you doing to set yourself apart? Another idea that we had, and yeah, there's a video. Literally for 6 hours we counted sprinkles. So we ran a contest and said how many sprinkles are there, and people were writing in, guessing, and tuning back in to find out how many sprinkles there were. And if they won, they won pancakes for a year. Somebody came close, but it was on us to count them all to make sure. So we wound up weighing 100 of them and then weighing it all, and there was some science involved. That was great. My creative head, I don't think that way.
So you didn't actually count them one by one?
We didn't count them one by one. Yeah. I don't know, whoever won, yeah. Yes, we did. Why, did something here? Yeah, we wound up giving up at the end, unfortunately. So those were some of the live events taking that in, but knowing that, again, this is still about food, this is still about pancakes, this is still about breakfast. We tried to follow different trends that were there, so this whole sort of slow motion pancake, do I say it? Pancake porn? Do I have to say that? We all know pancake porn sells, so we really tried to play into that. Knowing that it is, so while it's very disparate content, there is an overarching thing here. We want to stand out as a brand. We want to, declutter as much as we can. This is one that went way off the rails. I'm not sure what happened here, but this is for What the French Toast.
I'm thinking I'm ready to on a train right now, dude. Honestly, this is
That's probably one of the grosser things they've ever had there. And then there's one final video here, and this is really about how it all pulls together. So you'll see some of the content that I shared with you in here, but this is really the ecosystem and how it lives on Facebook. And this won a Shorty Award the year that this came out. That was like a tasty video, and tasty videos first come onto the scene. There's our beef pancakes. So you can see there that really our strategy was, let the brand stand out, let it speak for itself, and try to break through all of this surround sound and really reach people where they are. So You know, when we think about content strategy, you know, there are many facets to it. And, you know, the way you think about content on a website, the way you think about content on social, it is all part of an overarching ecosystem. So